Welcome, friends, to another Reaper's Review. Doug Turner, Reaper's Moon Productions. I am joined here today with Andre Cato and Stephen Hido. We're going to be looking at our top 10 favorite Spike Lee movies. And Steve and I said, you know, we should bring in an extra guest for this one. I ran out of the studio. I looked around. I grabbed the first guy I saw passing. Thank you, sir, Mr. Cato. It turns out he's a Spike Lee expert. This works out perfectly. So here we go. But in all fairness and honesty, you guys have known each other quite a few years. Go back high school, perhaps?
Yeah, 94.
Technically.
Yeah, 94.
He was in high school. I was out of high school.
So at what point did you guys start arguing about films? Was it kind of right off the bat in 94?
It was pretty soon.
Yeah. First week of knowing each other kind of thing?
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's been
Steven
decades.
spared no expense and no injury.
Let's continue that tradition today, folks. And we will be jumping into our top 10 Spike Lee joints. I'm going to get started with my number 10, jumping right in here, is Clockers. And I'm going to... Yeah, Steve's already getting a little hot under the collar here. I hope that they build this film up a little bit, because I only kind of put it on here to trash it. At the end, Harvey Keitel is like the arbiter of like street morality, right? He has like this 8-minute speech of like, I divvy out the moral code. Yeah. But when you meet him in the beginning, he's no different than the other cops, like making jokes as they look over a recently black guy that was shot. And to me, that's a big statement right in the beginning of the movie. A black guy gets shot. 30 minutes later, there's a bunch of guys chortling, making dick and food jokes over his corpse. Mm-hmm. And Harvey Keitel is one of them. They should have just set him apart a little bit there, and then that kind of clears it up for me. Because the rest in the middle, he's just a hard-nosed detective doing his thing. But if you would have just in the beginning been like, hey, whoa, like I don't think that kid's mom would feel that way or something, just to set him off, I would have kind of bought it more on the back end when he's delivering the moral justice, the code of the movie.
Number 10 for me is Crooklyn. Crooklyn because it's colorful, it's warm. I like the fact that it delves into family, doesn't just dance around it. A lot of his films, when they deal with family, it's usually, showing you some of the heartache and the dysfunction of it. And this shows that dysfunction, but more in a positive light, and also shows the family functioning around love. And yeah, that's why I like Crooklyn. I think it's at number 10 because I think that is a little bit disjointed.
I'm always going to be on board if Delroy Lindo's in something, though. He's just one of those actors.
He's on point.
Yeah.
Except if it's Clockers. Wow. The best performance in Clockers, that movie. So my number 10, we're talking about Spike Lee. What are we talking about? We're talking about American history. Just throughout so many of my movies, it's like the most entertaining American history class you'll ever sit through. And my number 10 is Four Little Girls. One of those movies that makes you wish every American tragedy had this kind of document to...
Yeah, put it out there.
Yeah. It's probably the least angriest Spike movie. We're talking like feature documentary. It's almost amazing how unangry it is. And a lot of that has to do with the presentation, but obviously, the subjects. There's that weird scene with Reggie White in it for like 6 seconds, and he's holding a Packers pillow, in case you forgot what team he played for. So that provides one laugh in the movie. That, needless to say, it's pretty bereft of laughs. That made me laugh out loud.
Jumping into my number 9, She's Gotta Have It, 1985. If you've seen our De Palma review, you'll know that I'm kind of a sucker for when I can see the budget or lack thereof a budget in the early career of a filmmaker. I just am. I love when I can see them pulling the resources together, just like clawing in the dirt to like get something made to get them on the map. And I don't know if that necessarily was all true with this one. I just know he was very young. It's in black and white. It was made in 1985. It shows a lot of just his raw talent and just being hilarious. Like when she's waiting to like have sex with the one dude and he's like meticulously folding his clothes and like it cuts to her and she's like still waiting and he's just kind of like still like folding his clothes. Like I was rolling. And then you're introduced to Spike as Mars Blackman. He's funny and a character in that. So to me, again, I love the early stuff where I can really see the filmmakers kind of reaching for what they can be someday. So my number 9, She's Gotta Have It.
And actually, number 9 for me is Clockers. And I think Clockers is hypnotic and poetic from the start, and it gets very revelatory about the inner dynamics between the two brothers. Also, this film taught me artistically about knowing your lane and having a lane, because I had the privilege of actually reading for this and being submitted for it, but I was nowhere near ready and comfortable for reading on a camera yet and doing slates and all that stuff like that. And I did not know how to find any part of this character existing anywhere near me or in me. So
no kid for the Mekhi
from
Phifer?
Mekhi Phifer,
No kidding.
And while I was at the David and Lee offices, I guess that came out along the casting wires that they were looking for 18 black male. Then and I fit the description like I fit the police description.
Bring him in.
Yeah.
Number 9.
I couldn't find my number 9, my physical copy, so I feel like a failure right now, and I feel insecure. But my number 9 is Get on the Bus. A movie that I think is so funny, so engaging. The character, are the characters like archetypes? Yeah, they are, but I feel they're good archetypes, and I feel there's a purpose to it. Yeah, and it's one of those movies that I love to be on the bus with those characters, talking and, disagreeing and, just everything. It's almost like, Alien, but without the alien trying to kill people. It's like these characters on this,
Just like Alien.
in this
Yeah.
vehicle going this way, nobody's getting off, and they have to deal with what they have to deal with.
Sure.
And they have to come to terms with,
Kind of a bottle story.
Yeah.
Okay. My number 8, Summer of Sam, 1999. This is one that I saw when I was really getting into films, and it was probably my first introduction to really studying Spike as a filmmaker. I had seen Do the Right Thing and some of the other ones from the 80s, 90s, but this is one where I was like really studying it. If there was one critique, I maybe could have used a little bit more of an expectation as far as like what was going to happen in the story. I mean, I know it was just about, speaking of like kind of a bottle type situation, it's like you have a whole city like is in a bottle in that one, and everybody's just kind of boiling over. Maybe a little bit more expectation, but again, that's nitpicking. Really like the performances. Leguizamo is great in this, Mira Sorvino. And again, this was really when I started to analyze Spike and appreciate what he was doing as a director in 1999.
You're just a jigaboo. You just you wanna be better than me.
You're just a jigaboo, trying to find something to do. Well, you're a wanna be better than me.
That is, of course, none other than School Days. I thought it was super informative if you hadn't seen anything about education or educational life, campus life, if you hadn't seen anything about Greek life, be it heavy-handed. Wild, man. And I loved all the performances. Talk about probably, if they're not star-making performances, a lot of career-making performances.
It's outrageous.
An introduction to the great Giancarlo Esposito, Lawrence Fishburne.
Samuel L.
What did you say to me, Doug? Well, you said something to me like while we were like nothing was revealed, but we were just talking about watching, early Spike movies, and you said like you realize.
Well, like if a black actor came to prominence nationally in the 90s, they were probably in a Spike movie in the 80s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if everybody knew about that guy in the 90s, they could probably go to the 80s and be like, oh, there's Samuel, there's Esposito.
That was the house everybody was hanging out
Yeah.
There we go.
For sure.
Take that, Tyler. You only created bums. Nobody that you made we want to model after. Nobody. And that's from me. This is like crazy. Tyson when he got to fight Holmes.
Yeah.
It's like me for Spike. Somebody needed to see a film that laid out and defended blacks as humanity. That would be the film.
School Days.
That I would say School Days.
Yeah.
See School Days.
My number 8 is a movie that Spike inherited from Scorsese and just really made it his own. It's Clockers. And you see a lot of movies about the cost of crime and the cost of a life on the street, but I feel this movie does such an interesting job of showing like the politics of a life on the streets. Yeah, and I think Delroy Lindo was right to be bitter that he wasn't Oscar nominated for this.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, he was pretty vocal about like, oh, wow, I didn't think I was.
I forgot.
Like he didn't make a big thing, but he was like, I think I was pretty good in this, and some people told me I was probably going to be nominated, and fuck you.
All right, for my number 7, Mo Better Blues. Really impressed with the all the actors playing instruments in this, and I'd be curious to find out like who kind of already played the thing they were playing or who picked it up just because they're talented people and they're getting paid to make a movie, so they're going to learn an instrument. I don't know, but I thought that was a really nice texture to it. Obviously, anything with Denzel and Spike, I mean, I think 4 out of my 10, it's Denzel and Spike. Like, what are you going to do? It's just going to be an engaging movie. I thought there was some really creative stuff, like with when there's the kind of sex scene with Denzel where there's kind of like a rotating in a chair, just like really being creative and stuff. So I really appreciated that. And then just really at the end, I thought it captures the essence of what music can do when he hears Cinda Williams singing. And you can just kind of tell like he's kind of going through all the emotions of like a love affair that didn't play out or whatever you want to call it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
But really enjoyed the film. That's my number 7.
Nice.
Interesting choice. Number 7, Inside Man. I just was, believe it or not, I don't know how it got by me, but somehow I not only found the movie without very much promotion, saw the movie, took the movie in before I knew that it was a Spike Lee joint.
No kidding.
Yeah. And I'm a credit watcher. And I still to this day, but I have to admit that I somehow didn't see it. And then I'd watch and I'm like, there's no traces. It's like, it's the perfect crime. Yeah. There's no fingerprint whatsoever. It's poignant. It's powerful. It's as pointed as a Spike Lee movie could be as far as like, getting you to think about certain causes, issues, and social justice and such. The performances are excellent. Everybody moves and shakes at a high level. It really is a symphony. And I like that even though our friend won't be judged on earth, he will be judged in heaven of the high courts by the time you get to the end of it. Yeah. And so that's dope. And to find out what their whole point was behind it, the reveal is it's powerful and kind of does
one of a kind.
It's right there with that usual suspect. Oh, he's Kaiser.
Yeah. Great reveal there. Yeah. Cool.
Okay.
Your 7.
My 7. The 2000 Saw 2. Huge American tragedies. 9/11, which we'll get to in a second, and Hurricane Katrina. When the levees broke is my number 7. Yeah, brings such anger. Like I was talking about 4 Little Girls. It was so kind of like sedate and polite and informative and humane. This obviously is different. This brings the anger, and it just kind of explains so well one of the great American clusterfucks, and it propels itself so well just story-wise, just over. It's it's 4 hours long, and just there's never a moment in it that feels boring, that feels repetitive, that feels like it doesn't need to be there. Just it's one of those stories where it's like, I guess anybody could have made a documentary about Hurricane Katrina. It'd be interesting just because it's like, a major American event with so many tentacles to it. But the way Spike does it, he makes it into a Spike Lee movie.
All right, moving on to my number 6, Black Klansman. Another just felt very original Spike feel to the whole film overall. Despite the material and the fact that, like, Spike Lee obviously doesn't care for or like some of these characters in the film, he's still, I feel like, going for a laugh like every 30 seconds or every minute. Like, it's just like, wow, he's kind of like really like punching some home here.
And never gets in the way.
Yes. And I thought that was really well done with it.
That one was a tough cut for me. I love that movie. It did not make my list, but
okay.
Two things in that movie that I think Spike does maybe better than he's ever done before is have a song go on way longer than it probably should, but you don't care when he's dancing with the adorable chick with the afro to the I think I'm falling in love. And it's just like the entire song, and it's like, what other filmmaker would be like, we're gonna play the whole song? God, I love that moment. And then the end, God, that end gives me fucking goosebumps.
Pithy, poignant, and paranoid, and extremely funny. I'm talking about Spike Lee taking a jab at having some humor. Bamboozled.
I got that poster for you in the car.
Oh my gosh!
Brand new poster for you. Yeah.
Today is the greatest. I think extremely well written. I think we forget about how awesome and much depth Damon Wayans has.
Okay.
All the rappers that appear in it truly work. Now, they may have been cast. They're cast so properly. I'll put it like that. They so properly that the Mau Mau's work beyond belief. Savion Glover, I really think that up until that point, it was like he would appear in stuff and it was cute, and and this is the first time I think somebody put him to work and kind of like drew those chops out of him, like tenderized the meat, marinated the meats. Delicious performance.
Ready to go?
Yeah, some of my favorite movies revolve around like mommy issues, but I find daddy issues much less inherently dramatic and interesting. But He Got Game really pulls off daddy issues in, I think, a way probably better than any movie ever has. Yeah, man. Just its theme of how talent and opportunity can consume you and sort of damn you if you're not careful is so well portrayed in this. The look of this movie, man, might be my favorite looking Spike Lee movie. Yeah, such a special movie. And Ray Allen, nutty. Jeez, it's like nutty how good he is in that movie.
That startled me.
God, it's nutty. Like, there's never a moment where you, like, see Spike the strings and Spike being like, well, we'll cut and then just don't worry about that. Like, he gives a good performance in this movie.
We are getting into the second half. My number 5, The Five Bloods. At first, I was perplexed how Delroy Lindo and the other characters were, when they were in Vietnam, they were older, but then they were with their squad leader, played by Chadwick Boseman, and he was clearly not older.
Yeah.
And then I realized, like, oh, this is kind of through their memory, like, because they all survived Nam and they got to grow up. That's how they see themselves. But their squad leader, Chadwick, he died that way, and that's just how they remember him. And I'm like, oh, that's actually kind of brilliant. So I was really impressed by that. The performances all around were great. We've already talked about Delroy Lindo. He kills it in this one again. And it just really struck me the way it was shot, and I just thought it was a really interesting original story. So that would be my number 5.
Get on the bus.
Nice.
Get on the bus. Get on the bus is like, to me, a rapper that is not considered to be super poignant, or I'm not necessarily poignant, but that's not super lyrical. Doesn't have all the metaphors and all like the punchlines, but delivers such poetry and such, like, meaning without all of the special effects. This is Get on the Bus to me. It's a movie with, like, it's dynamic, and even though, like, it's not like super punch up or this dazzling wordplay, it hits you right at home. It sticks to your ribs. And all those actors managing, including comedian Stephen White, to capture the essence of those people is really on point. And I think it's what you hope to do in film, is make something that actually everybody can access. Everyone can, I think, access the people in that picture.
Okay, my number 5 is my favorite movie of 1999. Maybe like, just such an incredibly New York movie, Summer of Sam. This was a poster I had him sign when I met Spike, so just that image means a lot to me. Just this. Yeah, I mean, Spike doing a procedural would be interesting, but this is what we wanted from Spike, to take this historical event in his hometown and make a Spike Lee movie out of it. Like, nobody else would have told this story had they, been given tasked with making a movie about Summer of Sam. With just, just the way it sort of like trails off so beautifully to these characters, and just even the way he deals with, Sam himself is obviously unique, needless to say. Just such a unique piece, and just one that I've just always loved the energy and the originality of. And like Leguizamo does kill it in this.
All right, moving on to my number 4, He Got Game. One we just talked about a little bit. Yeah, definitely when I saw this, I was aware, like, oh, that's Ray Allen in there. But then when I saw it years later, like, that's Ray Allen, like that fucking guy with the Heat and the Celtics and everything else. But I thought he does a really good job. They wanted Kobe originally for the role, but he it was like his first finals that year, his rookie season. Not first finals,
He blocked me.
first playoffs, and he didn't feel he did well enough, so he took the summer. He's like, no, I can't play Jesus Shuttleworth. I have to be like Jesus Kobe in the gym.
Seriously.
So that's what he did.
Interesting. Okay.
But yeah, Ray Allen was great. Rick Fox is even better of an actor. Like, Rick Fox is just a great actor.
Rick Fox did you know that's his degree at Toronto? Or where
His
he
acting?
went to school. Yeah, he studied.
I believe it, because
theater.
he's phenomenal in that. He was in Shameless. He was great. I've seen him in a few other things. But this film, I really appreciate more now, because when I was younger and I saw it, I kind of wanted like the big basketball games and like the game-winning shot and like the newer version of Hoosiers or something. And it's more of a like you said, it's a father-son story, and all that type of stuff. But now watching it, I'm much more appreciative of that and what the characters go through. And, you talk about some of the high stakes and and Denzel and everybody's great in it. So that's at my number 4. He got game.
Siamese twins. He got game.
He got game. Number 4. Hell yeah.
Number 1, everybody said everything about it. I think is Spike playing with color grading and color at its finest. Hill Harper, kind of an unsung hero, comes off the bench and can shoot the lights out. But he's very much a role player in this film. Again, the great Roger Guinevere Smith.
Yeah.
Is
Big Time Willie.
You're like, I mean, I don't know how you feel, but I'm like, why am I even acting?
Yeah.
Why am I even doing this?
Yeah.
He's definitely someone to aspire to reach towards.
My number 4. Like, who else could make a thriller where nobody dies and it not feels like a cop-out? That would be a really hard thing.
I never thought about that.
And he just has us. He's just pulling the strings so fucking perfectly.
Great observation.
Yeah.
Mind blown.
Yeah. I think it was like, I was watching it like for the 3rd or 4th time, and I was like, nobody dies in this movie. And it never feels like a cop-out. Never. It doesn't feel like a studio person who was like, we don't want people to die because of blah, blah, blah. It was just like, that was the story that was being told. And if I ever get married, I will come down to the aisle. I don't care what, like, my wife comes down to the aisle. She can do whatever the fuck she wants. I'm coming down to the aisle to the opening track, like that cool-ass Indian beat. Boom, 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 boom. That's why I'm coming down to the aisle if I ever get married.
Let's roll right into my number 3, which is Inside Man. Loved it since I saw it in the theater. I don't know if I've ever thought about the lighting of a movie so goddamn much. Like, I just, like, the fact that, there's the interrogation sequences in that film. And how many interrogation sequences have we seen somebody under the light? Millions, right? And this one, it's
your
like,
throat is parched.
Yeah. But it's somehow more interesting than one I've ever seen. Like, just the way the light kisses off everybody. I thought it was a great story with a great cast, elevated by Spike, bringing his spikiness to it. That's all I want to say about that. Yeah.
Number 3, a little bit of blues, man. Silky, sultry, those flowing shirts of the 90s, great baggy pants. I think an outfit in time that was definitely trying to harken to a bit of the 50s and 40s. Style-wise, it's one of the times where Spike Lee, again, we talked about his visuals, and his process of making things look cool. That shot in the bedroom, I'd almost forgotten about that until you mentioned it. Like, yes, this dude is so thorough. I like the band. I like the way that they create such they feel like a fixture, like you've been there before,
My number 3, when I was 13, my brother Carl took me to Southgate to the movies, and things weren't quite the same after that. Public Enemy started, and I was just like, okay. Started blaring through the speakers, and I was like, holy shit, do the right thing. Just a perfect balancing act, an unbelievable balancing act of a movie, of characters, of emotions, of story threads, of just an artist having a lot to say and saying all of it, but never seeming too preachy and never like getting in the way of himself. It's just such an amazing movie. The fact that the son's racist but not the dad, like just decisions like that you kind of take for granted, but you realize how smart every decision housed within this movie is, and just how self-indulgent it is, but it never feels that way. Like if you break it down, it's like, I guess you don't need certain moments, but it just all works so well within the whole of the piece.
My number 2, staying in that same vein, Do the Right Thing. That's my look here. I mean, Steve had a lot of good points to say about it. This one, I mentioned the word spikiest earlier. This might be the spikiest of the Spike. Like, I feel like nobody else could make that movie.
No.
You feel like you're just in Brooklyn on a 100-degree day or whatever it is. It's chaos, but it's like controlled chaos. Like, I've mentioned there was a few Spike films, like Summer of Sam, where I could have used a little more expectation. With this one, with Do the Right Thing, I don't need it at all. I'm just along for the ride. Like, these characters are so interesting, and everybody's got their own thing going on that I just want to see how this all plays out and transpires in the end. So we've already mentioned a lot of these actors: Esposito, Bill Nunn, obviously Spike himself. This is probably my favorite Spike role in any of his films, and it's probably the biggest one. Malcolm is close, but Probably my favorite Spike performance in a Spike movie, and everybody else is great. Man, I love this movie. It's at number 2. Do the Right Thing.
Number 2, we choose Malcolm X. It's great. Obviously, it features the powerful subject of Malcolm X, the discussion about civil rights, race in America. It also deals with colorism, as not unlike School Days. It deals with fraternal orders and their infighting, and also the battles they have with other groups. And I think that it is one film, and I don't know as many historical films as our brother to the left right here, but it definitely, based on at least what I know, lays out a fairly accurate depiction of someone that existed in real life. Great music, amazing music, introduced me to some things I hadn't heard, and of course Arrested Development being one of my favorite groups of all time. They really landed this.
Nice.
They stuck the landing.
Okay. My number 2. An American tragedy happens. Who do you call? You call Spike. Like I said, top 4 movies on my list I consider fairly flawless. In a weird way, I almost think this might be his most perfect movie, in a way that I can't fully describe, but I just, God, I love this movie. 15 months after 9/11, 25th Hour. Norton, if he wasn't, his own worst enemy, would be the movie star of our generation, and maybe pound for pound, his meatiest best performance, and just an amazing piece. An amazing piece of filmmaking. And I know, we make a point on the channel to never say shit that's been said a million times before, to always sort of have our take on it. But goddamn, that bathroom mirror scene. I don't think, you'd be hard pressed to find moments in films that contain a filmmaker's greatness so concisely and so compactly. The shower scene in Psycho, the last battle in Seven Samurai. I don't know. There aren't a lot of moments in cinema that you can just watch this, this, 4 minutes, and you're like, okay, that guy's a fucking genius.
I remember in the theater, you could just feel the fourth wall kind of melt away, and it was just it became a different experience other than watching a movie, for sure.
Yeah. But in that Spike way, it's never distracting. It's never okay, now we have to go back into the movie.
Yeah.
That is just in a character's head.
Yeah.
And just, God damn that scene. Yeah. Ugh.
All right. Down to my number 1. Gents. Walking down the street. No, Andre, you touched on it already, man. To me, it's just taking all the things that Spike does well on a smaller scale and then putting them all into one big piece that somehow all works cohesively on its own. Malcolm X. Just incredible acting. The pacing, like you said, Steve, it never falls apart no matter what gets introduced or where it goes. I think it's great how, you don't just start off with Malcolm being a serious, driven man. You show him as a young, energetic man about what he kind of was taken away from him, or what he became disillusioned about, in order to understand who he becomes.
Yeah.
So to me, when I first saw it, I was surprised. I'm like, wow, he's just such a happy-go-lucky young dude who's just kind of trying to enjoy his life, and it's kind of just when I want to get out, they pull me back in.
Yes.
And he was kind of pulled into what became his life and him as an activist and a person. Unbelievable movie. Definitely just an all-American classic film in general. And I'm putting that at number 1 for my Spike, Malcolm X.
With no further ado, simply, number 1 draft pick is Do the Right Thing. So much great use of even the mayor, and the use of Sam Jackson in this. He somehow tapped into, after all these years, we see, I think, the best elements of each performer and drew that out. And the best elements of this story, I don't know if you guys ever been to church, but it's less of an indictment on us all and more of a confession and a catharsis.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Mr. Hido, number 1.
Okay, my number 1. I don't even have anything written on this card. I don't know. It's Malcolm X. Oh! What the hell do I say? We said so much about it. It's, it's that balancing act of just, the epic build to, what that character and what that movement and what that time in American history meant. And, Yeah, I guess, like you were saying it, that first act when he's, like running the streets into Malcolm X. One thing I think it does so well is, so often biopics are like, this guy started off like kind of harsh. He didn't have a lot. And then he became a really good human being who we all love. Cut to black.
Yeah.
I love the third act of this. When I think of this movie, I think of the third act and just how well it shows the cost of being a legend.
Yeah,
Which, like,
yeah.
I get that he wasn't a legend in his time. He became that.
Still very much being pulled from a lot of
Yes.
different directions.
Yes,
Yeah.
and just what a son of a bitch of a time that dude went through, and just how, he was trying so hard to make his point, and how, in his day he probably doesn't even feel like he made the impact that he wanted to, and just how tough that must have been for him and his family. But just an amazing piece. And again, that performance, it's just
So
Jesus Christ.
a master
It's
class.
like three great performances in one.
Comprehensive lecture on integrity without being a lecture on integrity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent. Wow. Well, everybody, we really appreciate you joining us for our top 10 Spike Lee joints. Steve, I apologize. I couldn't get. No, I don't apologize. I didn't have 25th Hour on my list.
fuck
and
yeah.
you can cast. He's casting aspersions over there.
Really? Those are
aspersions.
shots.
Aspersions are being
No, I cannot
cast.
believe that.
Doug Turner, Reaper's Moon Productions, Andre Cato, Stephen
very much.
Hido.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank
guys.
you
I
both.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
This was great.
Again, thank you, everybody. Tune in next time. Doug at Reaper's Moon Productions. We out.